and Icelandic Women's Rights Association. My name is I am the president of Icelandic Women's Rights Association and very proud co-founder of Women in Iceland. And you will hear all about it in a minute. Just a few household items. This is an event that is a series of events organized by Hannes Holt. It is streamed as well. So there will be people following online, and people online, welcome. You will also be able to send questions if you'd like to the presenter or to the panel afterwards, and we'll try to follow and repeat the questions. There will also be obviously room for discussions, which I hope will be very energetic and lovely. And I'll just pass the mic to the audience so that people online can hear us. So I will not take more time. I will just introduce the Marion Colvett, who is the former member of the board of Women, but she has a very, very important role. She has taken on herself to archive and to write the history of women in Iceland. 22 years of activities. So she will give us, she has done a lot. She has been working for more than a year on that, I think, and will give us a short intro about that. After that, we will have a panel led by Sabina Leskov, my partner in crime in Women. She will introduce the panelists, and yeah, I think that's all. So without further ado, I give you the floor, Marion.
Thank you, Tatiana, and welcome everyone. So as Tatiana said, I'm currently working, not full-time though, but working on the archives of the organization, Samtök Kvenna erlendum uppruna, to preserve this history. When I came on the board a few years ago, I felt a bit lost. I felt I didn't know who did what was the achievement, and I really wanted to be able to gather this and transmit it to the next ones. And I am so working on this project with the Women's Museum at the National Library, and the project has been supported by the Women's Culture and Commemoration Fund. And so it will be a short presentation, but 10 minutes, using a bit of this project, but also putting women of foreign origin and Kvennafrís in context, especially with the celebration next week that is happening very soon. And so by now, probably most of you have heard a lot about the Kvennafrís that happened in 1975 when Icelandic women made history. They left their work, their housework, to protest patriarchy and inequality in Icelandic society. Now, I'm not going to retell you what happened there, but I maybe want to switch a bit the perspective and retell the event through the words of a migrant woman of the time who experienced Icelandic society, and that is telling in her book about the women's strike. Icelandic women as a whole made themselves felt on October 24th, 1975, in International Women's Year, when they staged a nationwide strike recorded by media all over the world. Not only were beds unmade and unshared, it is said, and dishes left unwashed, but the telephone system shut down, newspapers stopped, typesetters are women. Schools closed, theaters closed, airlines canceled, and with nursery school closed, businessmen had to bring their children to the offices. Bank executives replaced tellers, and restaurant owners did their own serving. Almost 100% effective, the strike aimed to show that women are indispensable to Iceland's economy and national life. Momentum apparently continued, for in 1980, Iceland elected the only female president in the world. Amalia Lindahl has been immigrated in Iceland in 1949 until 1972, when she went back to Canada, but I got confirmed that she was in Iceland actually in 1975 for the confirmation of her daughter. She was a writer, a journalist, a teacher, author of a book, Ripples of Iceland. I don't know if some of you read it. It has been criticized a lot when it came out because it put Icelandic society under a microscope a bit and from a foreign perspective. But it has also been called an early feminist novel. And this is the only, with all the writing I'm going through, this is the only time she mentioned the women's strike. It is very hard to find commentaries from foreign women on the women's strike. And she has a very interesting vocabulary around migrant at that time. She called herself and others adapted Icelanders and transplanted Icelanders, which I find very interesting. But somehow, in all her writing, she always felt external to this movement. She never considered herself as one of these women. She always talked about what Icelandic women did that day. But it doesn't mean migrant women didn't exist. In 75, often in scholarship I've been reading about, they said that migration was not measurable enough to have any sort of data about migrant women and feminism at the time, but they were there. Here you can see the foreign women, for example, erlendum or utlenskar Konur looking for flats and looking for work, which is a bit the Facebook group of the time, which I found very interesting. They were very present in the newspaper in the 70s. They were also very visible. Their voice were heard. For example, they were asked, how is Christmas in socialist countries? And had to describe the Christmas there. How was their work, how they found Iceland. You have here a picture of the American's Wife Club of the time. And I found it extremely interesting that they were actually extremely visible in the news during the 70s, although never connected to Kvennafrís at that time. Many were extremely active in the arts, especially, and also in the activism in healthcare. They were all over the news, and again, I'm still looking for this moment where a woman of foreign origin of the time will give some statement about the feminism of the time. And this is without forgetting this group of women from Germany that came by the hundreds at the end of the war as work help in the countryside, and also a group from Hungary that came in '56, and their name change was actually published in the news at the time, which make it harder to trace foreign women at the time because they all had Icelandic names on paper. And a lot of them worked actually as nurses. And so all this to say that in the time of Kvennafrís in '75, migrant women and their daughters were actually already shaping Iceland through their work, through their art, through their expertise, but yet it seems they were not yet outspoken participants in the Kvennafrís. And migrant women were not a specific topic yet in feminist activity. Now, Kvennafrís was redone over the years because, well, patriarchy was still here, in short. And with each year, this enabled a new generation of women to take part. And each year, a new topic was being added. For example, gender-based violence became more prominent. The movement Me Too also had an important impact. The third shift, the mental load, each year something new was added. And migrant women took officially part in 2005. And I will give you some details about that day because I think it's a pretty powerful moment. They became both participants and also a topic in the feminist discourse. And we have here an article by Tatiana from early October 2005, so right before the strike, named Foreign Women Also Have the Right to a Women's Day Off. And there, I do really like the quote there saying, 30 years ago, maybe 1 or 2 foreign women took part in the protest march, but today they are in the thousands, and they have every reason to protest. And they have the right to fair wages and working conditions, just like Icelandic women and every other person, regardless of gender and origin. And it's true, by that time, there were obviously much more women that could participate to this. And I hope I'm right saying you were in the organizing committee as it was published in the newspaper. And on that day, Amal Tamimi gave the first speech a migrant ever gave in this demonstration. And I wanted to share with you a part of this speech here. She said, women of foreign origin live with double inequality due to both ethnicity and gender. Our women not only receive less pay than men with the same education and in the same job, they often do not have their education recognized. The problems facing foreign women in the Icelandic labor market are many, and we should not remain silent about them. But we are also tired to hear the words foreign women and problems being used in the same sentence. We are also here today to celebrate with you and to show that we do not see ourselves as victims. Most of the foreign women who have come here have overcome high obstacles. They are strong and they have something to offer, and I stand here in front of you to tell you about it. We want free access to Icelandic education, Icelandic language. We want improved employment legislation. We want our education to be valued. And we want a society that sees what we have to offer, not just what is lacking. We have become part of this community and this women's movement, and we stand together in the fight. 20 years later, it still feels pretty relevant, and that's why I wanted to share this with you today. And I really encourage you to read her whole speech. It's available online. And so obviously, women of foreign origin gained a platform that day because they were more numerous. But from the documents I actually uncovered, I've noticed several testimonies saying that this participation was actually quite difficult and that it was not automatic, it was not obvious. They had to fight, to push, to carve a space there that day. And I believe that one of the reasons that they were able to wait in and be present that day is because 2 years prior, the Samtök kvenna erlendum uppruna was created with the founders here, including Amal and Tatiana, and that gives an institutional weight and legitimacy to then belong to the feminist fight, being an independent organization by women of foreign origin for women of foreign origin. And we see here Vigdis supporting this event. Now, I believe since this organization was created, a lot obviously has been done, but one thing that I've noticed, especially in the news, is that it became a bridge between Icelandic feminism and migrant women. I've seen several articles talking to Icelandic feminists, asking them, include them, talk to other foreign women in your workplace, and asking for feminist solidarity, so talking to feminists in Iceland, and on the other hand, talking to women of foreign origin and translating what is going on, what is the feminism here, you have a space here, come here. And I saw a lot of translation actually from Kvennafrís 2005 explaining all this. So I felt the organization has this role to talk to both Icelandic feminists and newcomers and migrant women here. And I had a little fun having a little timeline about this, but I think it helps to contextualize. So Kvennafrís, the first one in 1975, Amal's first speech in 2005, and since then, foreign women, women of foreign origin, Icelandic women with a foreign background, all were present at each of them giving a speech. Justina Grossell in 2016, Claudia Ashani Wilson in 2018, and Alice Olivia Clark in 2023. Whether they were connected to the organization or not, migrant women and women of foreign origin carve a space since then in the movement. And I wanted also to stress the importance of the Me Too movement in this, and the work that has been done by Nicole Lemosti especially, that gathered a lot of stories of women of foreign origin. In 2018, more than 700 women have been accepted to a Facebook group. That's how it happens in Iceland, right? Facebook group. And there they started to share their stories connected to the Me Too movement. And these stories have been gathered anonymously and then have been brought to the public attention. And you can see here Nicole, Claudia, and Tatiana discussing this on national TV, so bringing this topic to Icelandic society. And because of this work, because of creating this safe space for women and advocating for them, the organization received the Reykjavik Human Rights Award in 2018. Another achievement, I didn't know if you would be in the room, Tatiana, so sorry, but you're here. But I believe it's extremely important because the Women's Rights Organization is a monument of feminism in Iceland, more than 100 years old, with a lot of accomplishment. And the fact that a woman of foreign origin was elected chair of this organization also is a big landmark in feminism. And so a lot of more names could be named, a lot of more achievement could be described, especially with the next one coming, but it's a bit more recent memory, so I believe like a lot of you already know about this. But the important thing I wanted to show is that there is a growing participation of migrant women, women of foreign origin, Icelandic women with a foreign background that are participating more and more each year to the Kvennafrís. And I hope this year also is going to be even bigger. And to finish, I will finish on a kind of current state of affairs before we start the panel. So Kvenna 2025, which is the collective in charge of this year's women's strike, has identified women of foreign origin as one of the vulnerable group of women in society. Women of foreign origin work longer, have longer work days, lower salaries. They are more vulnerable in the workplace, breach of contract, harassment, and less likely to seek help. Regarding gender-based violence too, they are more likely to experience gender-based violence. They are more vulnerable in relationship and also less likely to seek help. Last year, almost a year ago, right, demands were made and officially handed over to elected representatives and politicians. Of course, most of the demands are for all women, which means if they are rich, this will better the situation of all women, regardless of origins, but some of them are geared towards us, and I encourage you to go check the demands. They are in Icelandic, English, and Polish fully on the website. Some of them are about wage transparency, some of them about guaranteed access to interpretation services, others mandatory training for stakeholders such as the police, the judges, and other and social workers when they deal with people of foreign origin, and also a legislation on hate speech, which a lot of women of foreign origin right now are experiencing, connected to both the fact to be a woman and to be a foreigner. And yes, so I hope this gave you some little key elements to introduce this panel. I think it's extremely important to transmit this history, not only to the next generation, but to newcomers too. Especially on a personal note, I feel by seeing and learning everything that was done before, this gives me the strength to actually continue and play my part in this feminist movement. So yeah, thank you, and I'll ask you to welcome the panel now.
Can I ask my panelists to join me on stage?
Okay, so let me start. I'm leading you through the panel here, so let me just have a few introductory words. My name is Sabine Leskopf. You will not recognize me, but I was on one of the pictures a long time ago, from a long time ago. I have been in Iceland for 25 years, 1 month, 14 days. As Tatjana mentioned, I'm her partner in crime, but I'm always a step behind. I missed the founding meeting, but I once found in our book of minutes of meetings, I was there in December. So 2 months behind, but thanks for having me back home. So my name is, again, Sabine Leskopf. I'm currently in the City Council. I've been there since 2014 first, and then 2018 as main member. I'm currently the chair of the Human Rights Committee, and I very much look forward to leading you through the conversation. So I'll just give maybe my fellow panelists here just a brief round of introductions.
Hi, nice to be with you here today. My name is Sanna Magdalena Mörstudóttir. I'm a city councillor. I'm also an anthropologist.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah.
That's it.
I was just keeping it.
You'll have loads of time to speak. Just to keep learning.
Hi. I know. My name is Geeti Chandra, and I am Associate Research Professor at the Gender Equality Studies and Training Program at the University of Iceland.
Hi, I'm happy to be here with you all. I am Nusla Atalla, architect and writer, and I'm here to present women in Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Medea. I'm an English teacher, women rights activist, Yeah. Oh, and I'm I'm a member of the Youth Council of the Women's Rights Association.
Great to have you all. We are on a live stream, as has been mentioned, so people will be able to ask the panelists questions through the live stream or here in the panel. First, I have a question for each of you. What does the 24th of October mean to you personally, as a historic event, as your own participation or not participation, non-participation? What does it mean to you personally? Sanna, we start and want to take it on?
Yeah, I think it means like how much you can do when you are standing together in solidarity, because so often when you're in some kind of a struggle, do you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So like when you're in some kind of a struggle and you want to fight for making things better, you kind of maybe sit at home and tend to think like, oh, it's just one of me, what am I able to do? Will my achievement make a difference, you know, if I am at home saying this doesn't make sense, we need to fix this. So I think it's really incredible, like when you see all of those individuals coming together, forming a large group, and you could see just how many people, how many women and non-binary people came together in making this kind of like huge impact. And I'm always thinking like, what would happen if everyone would think like, oh, I'm just one person. Maybe I should skip going. If everyone would think like that, then we wouldn't have like this huge mass of people coming together, making demands, making it into the international news, you know, all these years ago about their demands. And this was like before the time of Facebook and all those social media that we kind of tend to use today to get the message across really fast. So I think it means like what can really be achieved in solidarity and standing together, and like how one person can become like this really important factor into making something big and something great. And I think like because it can get really easy to think like, oh, it's just like one voice, just me. No, it's not going to make a difference, but it really does make a difference. It adds up. So yeah, and it was just really amazing to get to attend the one in 2023 and like seeing all the pictures, like how many people actually showed up. So yeah, I would say like showing up, solidarity, it can do a lot.
Yeah. Kitty? Definitely. I moved here a little under 10 years ago, so it's going to be 10 in January. And the first time I went on this, on the Kvennafrís, the protest was in 2017, I think. And in my life in India, where I spent many years teaching at the university there, I was so used to being out on the street, so used to demonstrating and protesting and, you know, barging into meetings where you're not invited and all the rest of it. And so when I heard about this, I said, yeah, absolutely, I'm going. There was no question. And I went, and the two things struck me. One of them was my mother-in-law, who is Icelandic and who had been part of the original strike in 75. And she sent me a Facebook comment. I put up this picture, and she said, now you're Icelandic. And I thought that it was such a lovely way to, first of all, to make me feel that I am Icelandic. She saw me as coming in the line of feminists, of women who were doing this. And since I'd only been here 2 years, it went a long way to connect this kind of feminist activism that I was used to at home with the feminist activism here, to feel that you are in a long line, you follow in a long line of feminists in Iceland, to feel part of that, I think. And the other thing was this poster that we had carried from my department. It was this big thing, and it said in Icelandic, I can't believe that I'm still protesting this bleep bleep stuff. And I thought to myself that this is so true. I mean, from my mother-in-law in 75 to me in 2017 to from India in Iceland, and I can't believe that we're still protesting this stuff. And it created these very comforting but also alarming sort of threads of community. That people in India are protesting this, people in Iceland are protesting this, for all the differences of, countries that couldn't be more different. There is this commonality, there is this community. So it really brought home to me the importance, as Sana says, of just going out and being physically part of, this community of people. You never feel it as much as when you're bodily in that space. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm trembling a little bit. However, I used to speak in public, but this topic, it's a little bit hard for me, especially that the first memorial of the historical Kvennaverkfallsins was 2023, which aligned with the war that has happened in Gaza. So I would start from that as a woman from Gaza. 24th of October means relief or a breath for me. However, I was not able to participate in 2023, but at the same time, I believe it's resilience in face of exhaustion. So women, a group of women can make a change. And it's not a current change, it's a change that could happen in historian. And it not only happened in 1975, but also we have been seen it repeated in 2018 when leikaskóla kinnarin, when the kindergarten women, who was the most labor of the kindergarten are women, decided to do the same concept, that if we are gathering together, if we are having the same language, if we have been here, if we have sent the powerful message that women can make a change, then a change could be happened. So for me, personally, before it could be something that would let a light on, it's a breath, it's relief. It reminds me always that if I'm not taking a step to fight for women's rights, there's another woman who would take a step to fight for women's rights. So I hope that this year I would be able to participate in 2025. I do believe it's a privilege to participate, especially we are motherhood, we are mothers, we are workers and etc. But I'm asking everyone to participate, but at the same time, it's not an obligation to participate. We are all believe that we can make a change if we're there or if we are not there. But the most important part that I would like to discuss, that it's a renewable commitment toward equalities, women's equality. Mm-hmm. So if I'm participating or not, I have different means and devices I can raise my voices up, writing or participating, and most importantly, especially that I am in a demanding field, I'm an architect, and it was not easy to get into this kind of field. So I'm always demonstrate inside my work that we have to raise our voices, and it's not only about pay gap, but it's more than that. We need a floor for all women, if they are immigrants or also Icelandic women. That if we have achieved, Iceland is a feminism paradise, but still a lot needs to be happen within the community.
Mm-hmm. Maria, back to the day, the 24th. What does it mean for you?
So for me, it didn't mean anything when I moved here. I was 20, I think. Yeah, I had just turned 20 when I moved here, and it meant nothing at that time because my priorities were different. But over the years, I've lived here just over 10 years now, and my priorities have changed. And how I've participated in the Kvennafrís is a kind of way to show the change that has happened in my life. So I think it was the 2017 Kvennafrís where I realized that I had a lot of privilege as somebody who was born in Europe. I come from a minority background, you can say. My parents are from Pakistan. They came as asylum seekers to Germany, and then from Germany we moved to England, and I moved to Iceland. And while I have a few labels that kind of stick onto me, I still have a lot of privilege. I realized, I started working at that time in a Heimili, an after-school program, and I realized that I had it much better off than some of the women that were working with me. And I realized that if they could go and be part of Kvennafrís and take part in just the feminist movement, then so can I. And they inspired me. One of the co-workers was from the Philippines, and I just found her effort that she made to participate in her community really inspiring. And I used that to then attend every one of the Kvennafrís after that, and it's just been getting better and better. And yeah, for me, it just means growing into adulthood as a woman as well, and being part of solidarity, like you said, and being part of a movement to bring about change, and just to belong into a community.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But it's very interesting. I don't know whether you have, I mean, I've used it to show off, to tell people back home when they ask me about what's it like being a woman in Iceland, why do I live here? I've used that. I mentioned that.
Yeah. It's a good talking point.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Thank you. Some of you have already gotten to my second question. But what do you think? How do you see the place of immigrant women with a foreign background or foreign origin or mixed origin in the feminist movement in Iceland? And then again, that's again a question for all of you. Should we maybe have Giri to start? Is that okay? Then we take the round.
I have a very specific response to this, so forgive me. But I work at the university, and one of the things that one of the cracks through which foreign women fall, in spite of all the systems in place, is the complaints mechanisms for sexual harassment. And so we know that women are disproportionately large number of people who face sexual harassment. And because, for various reasons, but also because often the students who are there for a very short period of time, for one term or maybe a year, are foreigners. And so foreign women actually are much more disproportionately likely to not complain, to not have their complaint looked at. And so one of the things that I've been trying to do at the university is, for the place where I teach, at the guest program, we realized that if one of our fellows were to go and complain to the university complaints mechanism, there is one, but it's not specifically one for sexual harassment, it is a general complaints mechanism and so on. Then, the university grinds long and slow and will take its time and may take a year and so on. And these people are there for only one term. And so in order to address that, I and a colleague, we got together and we said, we will institute this. So we met with the lawyers and with the HR and so on and so forth. And we constituted a complaints mechanism that we take on. And it's not the best solution. I think that if you're in the classroom, you should not also be the person looking at the harassment complaints. It creates mess everywhere. But I've been in conversation with the university itself, with the dean of the humanities and so on, to say, can we not change the way that the system works, or claims that it works, in order to make sure that these people don't fall through the cracks. Because there are students who are here for a term, or as foreign exchange students or whatever, who are not going to go to the university and complain, and nobody wants their lives to be about that. If it's going to take a year, if it's going to take that long, they're not going to do it anyway. And so that's one of the things that I've specifically been trying to push at. just in the belief that
Can I-
one small thing at a time.
Can I put in a question specifically for your environment there? You're working at the university. You're
Yes.
dealing a lot with students of foreign origin there. The university has both a gender studies program. They have the Jafnréttisskóli, which is aimed at foreign students. Or students from abroad. I always want to make the difference whether you're living here and are foreign origin, go to university, or whether you come here to study. But the university has a strong feminist movement, structures, awareness. Where do you position foreign women within the feminist movement awareness within the university walls?
That's a very good question. I'm just trying to think how.
Do you feel
best
they're
to-
open? Do you feel they're inclusive?
I think that the student movements in the university are reasonably inclusive. I feel like it should never depend on individual students. It should all the changes that I want are systemic, are structural changes. So that for instance, one of our fellows lodged a complaint, came to me with a complaint against somebody in student housing, and this person had been harassing her. And student housing is fabulous. I went and spoke with them, and we sorted it out. But with her in the same apartment was a local Icelandic student, who had also been harassed by this person, who it never occurred to her to go anywhere, so it was, I think, partly because, as Najwa knows, this is what we do in our classroom. We're constantly ranting and raving and so on. And our fellows just said, "What is this? I shall go to Giti." And with her came this other woman. She said, "Can I complain too?" And I said, "Well, not to me, but yes, you should definitely do it." So I'm sorry, I don't know if it answers your question, but the changes I want to make are
important.
are structural.
Contribution, yes.
So that the university should look to this,
Najila, you're part of the women's organization now.
I will just only adjust my sitting so I can be more comfortable.
Of course.
I'm a little bit tall. So.
Of course. So, where do you place both maybe the organization or you personally within the feminist movement? Do you feel you're part of it?
I would thank you for this question first, but before I give my statement regarding this question, I would like to agree with Giti. I have been a student in University of Iceland, and I could tell that from where I come from, it's so hard to complain. We have been taught that we have to be forgiveness and we have to be tolerant with the environment, even if we are leaving to a free country. But I was shocked also to know that a quarter of women in Iceland suffer from the same we are suffering. They have not been complained. They have been taught to be silent. They have been taught also to forgive. So we are kind of in the same page here. And regarding women position and feminism movement, I can't deny that we are there, but we do feel that we are in margins. We are not visible. You could see that we are there, but we still not having the policy to make changes based on what we have been suffering through the years that we have been living in Iceland. It's evolving. I can't deny that. It's evolving, developing, and there's a lot of women from foreign origin and also Icelanders work together to bring our voices not to the table or to not to translate it to an actions, but also to make the people who are making decisions are from foreign origin. And by here, I don't criticize that Icelanders do not know the needs of women from foreign origin, but I can only share one story, that when a woman, Icelandic woman, come to me and say, I can't tell, how do you feel to adjust or to include to Icelandic community. I have been in Denmark and it's feel awful to be in a foreign country. But I do not understand, like here I do not underestimate the struggle. I do not underestimate that, yes, it's not easy to start a new life. But when you are coming from where I came from, or from Pakistan, or from the East, we have a different community structure. So we are here bringing the differences. We bring our culture, food, heritage, stories, family value that evolve the community. And in return, we want to participate in decisions. We are there. I can see that in Iceland, we already have a seat in most of the institutional and legal institutions, but we want these seats to be in policies and actions.
Maria, you're part of the feminist movement with the organization you've founded now. But what do you feel about the place of immigrant women within the feminist movement?
I think that immigrant women have shown that they want to belong, that they do belong. They themselves do not lack anything. What happens is often that when we truly accept who we are as immigrant women and we start living here, we start contributing to the society, we basically educate ourselves here, we will find jobs, we will start families, or just to live as freely as we want to live, we do that. And we also take on the struggles that come with that. What happens, I think, is that while we are ready to do all of these things, we are very aware of all the systemic barriers that we will face. And we are also ready to take that burden on. While we are doing all of this, and it's all going on in our, personal lives or in our homes, and we deal with it, what lacks is how our society perceives us. There is how we accept ourselves as who we are, and we have strength, and we look for strength within our community often, like you're saying, we have these bonds that we very quickly form. But what happens is that when we kind of extend a hand out to the wider society, the reciprocation is not the same. And we're not met with acceptance the way we've accepted ourselves. My struggle is with that. I struggle with that a lot because I have never put myself in a box. I don't really like to accept any labels about myself. And then I find within my spirit to fight or rebel against when somebody else puts me in a box. So that's where I am with feminism right now, because I see myself as a feminist because I come from Pakistan and I have grown up with certain cultural values, religious values. I accept some, I've let go of some. And I've started a family here, I have a job, I've educated myself completely in Iceland in higher education. I participate as much as I can, volunteer here and there and do whatever I can. But never do I truly meet acceptance. And often people want to put me in a box. And that's where I am right now. And
Thank you. So many new questions that I'm adding to my list. But Sanna has, of course, a new perspective, different perspective, but a very valuable perspective. What's your place of women with your background in the feminist movement in Iceland?
Yeah, it's like sometimes I'm sitting in a room and it like suddenly hits me like, oh, I'm the only brown-skinned person here today. It just kind of hits me when I'm at a meeting and I'm like, oh, we don't really have people or women with darker skin color, in the city council, in the meetings I'm going to. And I'm like, that just hit me. Okay, focus on the meeting now, focus. But I thought it was really interesting, because we've seen a lot of discussion on women in these, a lot of women-led. Women are now in the government, in the city council, they are leading in many areas. And we have seen the media talking about that, oh, it's so great that women are here. And I was talking to my mom and I was like, isn't it kind of strange that I haven't seen anyone mention, this is the first time we have a city council president that is not white-skinned, because that's a first. And I was like, that's kind of weird, right? That no one has mentioned it. I think that's kind of something you should mention. Some news outlets should mention somewhere, because I was thinking like, who is writing down the history? What stories will be told? How will people know about this after 100 years? If this is maybe something that is just like happening more often, are we going to be talking about like, oh, that time when we had like a lot of women and we had the first woman of color being a city councillor, being the president of the city council, but it was just like nothing. And then I was thinking like, are people maybe kind of uncomfortable with talking about this and thinking like, if we acknowledge this, then we are like focusing on her brown skin and maybe someone will think that's kind of racist. And this is kind of how I see the situation with women with a foreign background or of a foreign background in the feminist movement. It's kind of been like boxed down to a separate kind of issue. I mean, things are getting a lot better, I would say, in Iceland, but it's not like something that has been like fully ingrained with the feminist movement. It's kind of like, okay, so we're going to talk about immigrants, we're going to talk about foreign women, we're going to talk about their experience, but it's not like fully woven into the whole feminist movement. So I think that's really interesting, like how it's still kind of boxed down into different categories, and we don't maybe see this inclusion that we want to see in the movement and in the battle. I would say things are getting better, but of course it's been kind of just also heartbreaking watching how Iceland and Icelandic leaders, they, I think, see themselves like as feminists, but at the same time we see what's going on in Palestine and how how leaders have kind of like
use gender equality to like
like what is feminist to you? Is it just like how broad is it? I think we need to do a lot better into kind of like making sure it's like interwoven into the movement. And also I think the battle ahead should be focusing on women with vast backgrounds, and that should kind of be leading in the movement ahead.
Thank you. Maria mentioned something that brings me to, I mean, that women of foreign origin carry an extra dimension, extra weight. I mean, Icelanders have now finally learned about the third shift, although we're still explaining it to many what that is. Not only that men have not carried it, they hadn't even heard of it. What about the mental load, that the extra mental load that women of foreign origin carry above the new cultural codes, the social codes that we might not know, we might not be included, the language, of course, but it could also be the origin. You come here, and this is what Maria came a little bit in. You all of a sudden you have to answer for a lot of things back in your home country. I mean, I'm German. I carry the Second World War on my shoulders, but they ask you to answer for things that are even worse, maybe in your country. But just an example. Optionally now, if you want to have a comment on this, what about this extra load that women with a foreign background carry? Is there one? Is there one?
No, actually, it's like what you are saying about third shift. For me, it's unended shifts, actually. And especially for the last year, I have been dealing with a really hard mental issues, and I have to move on in my life. So I'm not talking about learning Icelandic language. It's like now it's kind of obvious that we have to learn the language, but also I have to learn the language not for myself, but also to teach my kids the Icelandic language, reading with them. This is one of the shifts that I have to do every day from 1 to 2 hours, like kind of basically. But also the language, it's one pillar of what we are doing as like women from foreign origin. But I'm an architect, and it's really demanding job. I have to learn a lot of programs. I have to recognize my certificate, which took like almost 6 years for me. I have to learn a lot of programs and code, like a code system that it's totally different of what I have learned in my country. And this is a shift. Like learning Icelandic language is a shift. It requires 1 to 2 hours daily for myself and for my kids. And also learning a language that suits my work and learning the programming I need. And more like what made things worse, that I can't say that I'm tired. I can't share this load with anyone. Other than that, I would be kind of not grateful for the opportunity that I am having and living in Iceland, and how I could dare to say that I am tired, or like I have a mental burden and invisible emotional burden on my shoulder, while your whole country in Gaza, for example, where you're like the whole nation is not only my family. The whole nation do not find a food to eat while you are here and you are complaining about it. But also teach like the language, the mental burden, and the culture. Like especially as a Palestinian mother, and I think other women who are from East or like even India, we have shared values that we should bring our kids, like learn, like be belonging to Iceland, have the identity of being Icelanders, but at the same time rooted in the idea of our country. And in our in our case, it's not only culture, it's not only heritage, it's not only the religion, also the religious issue, but in my case, it's the motherhood of being a Palestinian mother who had to raise her children knowing about the cause, and most importantly, to make them a fighter. So we need to teach them the survival mechanism. And excuse me to say that. However, I am Icelander now, and my kids have the nationality. But we have been brought up that we are stateless and Palestine is not recognized. And we have always this fear, we have always this pardon that having the citizenship, it does not mean that you could hold it. We have this kind of fear that we could be over, like it could be, we could be kicked out. It could be like we have this shift. It's not announced. We need always to teach our kids and ourselves how to survive. If we will be kicked out, how we could survive and how we could keep belonging, at the same time be rooted back to our origin.
Mm-hmm. I stopped counting. It wasn't just the fourth shift. It was more than that. Anyone else who wants to?
I can add one aspect to this, is that while we are also sitting here, we are a part of a movement that is doing the first of a few things, if that makes sense. Yes. I have yet to see more visible Muslim women, for example, in just politics, for example, or even just in mainstream media or anything like that. More brown and black people. And so while we are also actively trying to break some barriers and trying to challenge stereotypes and dismantle these certain labels that are attached to us, our children are doing the same. They are the first few to be of a certain color in their classrooms. They're the first few to bring a new language to the school. They're the first few that are bringing new culture, the language, the food, everything. They're the first few to do that in a society that is seeing a lot of change suddenly. So, like you're saying, while we are as women learning the language, trying to find work, trying to fit in, get our education recognized, we're also trying to raise children who can be resilient in the face of bullying, hate, stereotypes that are so rooted in how the West sees a certain group of people that it does take out a lot of our time. Yeah, and there's one thing. So I have a sister who is 8 years younger than me, very free, not married, no children. And what she does in her evenings is what I did before I had kids. And now, while there is I battle with a lot of why am I taking so much on versus why I feel like I have to take so much on as well. I could let everything go, especially all the community work or all the social work or all of these things. I could let go and I could easily just live within this. But then I'm also fitting again in a stereotype then. Muslim women don't want to participate in society. Muslim women just stay in their homes. They just want to raise children. They don't want to leave their house. They don't want to do anything. So if I'm at home and I just focus on myself and raising my family, I am stereotyped. If I'm out and about, I'm also again stereotyped. Oh, she's not a good Muslim, or she is too outspoken, or does she actually mean what she says? So, you know, it's a double-edged sword kind of like situation where, yeah, so like one of the things is to break these like boxes that we are put in. And for me, that is my feminism, like just to get out of, but the shift is definitely like a thing. Yeah. It's the fourth shift, like it's there, it's very invisible, it's barely recognized anywhere. And I think one more thing that I would say on that is, I think, as I said before as well, we are very willing to take on this shift, but what happens is that while we prepare ourselves to do all of these things, the society is not prepared to support us with equity and justice. And so we again then fall through all these cracks, and we fall through, and then when we hit rock bottom, when we find it hard to deal with our mental health, we have nowhere to turn. And for me, that is also a big element to how some of us will then just leave society completely and then be in our homes. And you never hear of certain people ever again.
Great, thank you. Any more takes on that? The extra shift? It's optional, if you want.
Yeah, I was just, I've been here, as I said, almost 10 years now. I still carry my Indian passport. I don't think that I'm going to go back and settle in India again at this point, and possibly it's just a sentimental, it's a piece of paper, it's a sentimental attachment, but whatever it is, there is, I think for me the double belonging of being an immigrant is that whatever is happening in the home country is always here, right? It's always much more for some people than others, but it's always there. Yeah. And I think that all the happy stuff, of course, too, but often there is so much not happy stuff, as we know. And I think carrying that is something that I wasn't used to doing when I was in India. In India, of course, I'm Indian, I'm here, there's a problem, I'm out in the streets, I'm doing what I can. So I think that is, it's something that really, you don't realize it, but it's sitting there in your heart and it's burdening you in a way that you can't, it's not that you can't do anything, but it's far
very
away.
hard to let go.
And you don't want to let go. I'm not even willing to let go of my piece of paper, right?
But also, like, to add to this, like, recently I had my family came from Gaza to Iceland, and I still have, like, my brother there, and we have just received a news that our family, like, where he is, it got bombed, and we did not get any news if he is, like, okay or still alive. So we were all panic, and I was at work and I collapsed, and my colleagues, like, called my husband to get me, and then my parents are here, and I was a little bit afraid to tell them that the house is gone and we don't know if my brother is still alive. And then they get to know that he's still alive. And when I went there to be in, like, I need someone to be with me, but at the same time I have to be with my family. They don't have anyone. They just came to the country. And it was kind of funny in the middle of this miserable. It's like, do you know that being in the war itself, it's better than to be here in Iceland and watching it happen in front of our eyes, and we don't know what we can do. So, and they were saying, we were kind of like mocking you when you're calling and trying to get us out, and you have been convincing, and this is a pardon also, just to like help your family to survive or to get out from a war zone. And there's like, we survive, we are here, we are like settled, we are trying to settle in Iceland, but at the same time,
we can't. We are feeling that our heart is like our heart will be exploding any minute, because you can't get any news. You can't even access to know what is the situation. So this is like a double part. And where when you are like, even if it's in a zone where you could lose your life, it could be easier than being out and like can't do anything.
Yeah, there are very different dimensions for individuals. A very quick question for Sanna. Have people stopped asking you where you're really from?
Oh God.
Yeah, it's kind of soft, and I think it's because of the work I do, you know, being a city councillor, and I can notice how people are asking me kind of like less of these questions, like where are you from, and touching my hair, and are you adopted, why is your Icelandic so good? So I think it's maybe because I've been on the news and they always put like your name behind, so they're like, oh, she actually speaks Icelandic, she's Icelandic. But it's like I've been noticing kind of in the taxis, when the taxi drivers, they're like talking, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a nice chat about the roads in the city and the housing. And then they're talking, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting some valuable notes from this that I could maybe take back to work. And then they're like, Muslims, Arabs, I'm not a racist, but, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it used to be like a treat for me to take the taxi, and I was like, I'm just gonna call a cab. But then they are like, but you have done such a good job, Sanna. And I'm sometimes like thinking, how do they view me? Do they view me as Icelandic, or do they view me as a brown person? But I think, and I was just gonna add, I think it's like also this, because I've been kind of like shaming myself, like, why don't I say something to this taxi cab that is, you know, using his racist comments, but I kind of freeze, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. So I think it's also the kind of scared of underachieving. I don't know if it's because of, you know, not being a white person in Iceland, or having experienced poverty, living with a single mom who was, you know, in a low-wage job when I was growing up. But I feel like my biggest fear in life is just basically underachieving, not being good enough. So I don't know if it comes from, I'm like, is this because of my skin color or poverty, or I'm just like messed up because of something else, or just being a woman, or like everything. So I'm like, okay, I need to do better. Like nothing ever good enough.
I just wanted to say.
I think we have to move a little bit on. I mean, these people have so much to help with. Some of you may have the opportunity to stay a little bit longer and continue the conversation. But I would really like to see whether we have questions, either from the audience here. Then we have a microphone. Please remember that, because
there's one question from online.
Okay. Yes.
And Christine asks, how can the Icelandic community create a more inclusive environment where women and men from diverse ethnic backgrounds feel genuinely accepted and valued?
Don't ask us.
Another shift for us to define, not them, but still valuable questions. How can what do we ask of the Icelanders to facilitate?
I don't know if it'll answer the question, but I just want to give the other side of carrying the burden of woman. I'm a super privileged person. I was privileged in India. I'm privileged here. I am the most privileged of immigrants. I came with a family, with a job, all of that. But at some point, somebody asked me, they said, do you feel at home? And I said, you know, I have a great job. I have lovely friends. I have a family. And they said, yeah, but you feel at home. Yes. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, a home doesn't have to look the same as your other home. It's possible to have two homes that look entirely different from each other. Yeah. And so even if I say, well, it's not the home, it's not the feeling of home that I have when I go to India, I feel that there is a way in which, just to say the good stuff, there is a way in which people do reach out, in which my colleagues have said, Kitty, just speak it. We know you'll sound like an idiot. We laugh at you a little bit, but it's fine. Yeah. Just speak and we'll do it. That people have been welcoming in so many different ways. And so I just want to say that there is a way in which I do feel that this is my home. It's not the home that I'm used to having, but it's a different kind of home. And I think that's the flip side of this double burden of, carrying the burden of what you leave behind, but also. And so what can we do to make things more inclusive? I think it's the small things. Of course, the structural and the systemic that I want also, but the small things, the people in an art class or writing retreat or, whatever.
The parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the small things, it's the little gestures, it's the not judging, it's the figuring out whether you're comfortable speaking or not speaking in English. It's the small things, and I think there are a lot of people who do that, and that really goes a long way, I think.
Yeah. Any more? What's on our wish list?
I can say that for me, firstly, the thing about being included, it really depends on how somebody who's immigrated to this country wants to be included. Not everybody wants to be fully immersed into the Icelandic experience. Some of us really just want to live ordinary lives. We don't want to be out trying kjötsupa and all of these things and dry fish and everything. As much as I know that Icelandic people love their dry fish and smear butter, it's not something that I want to do. So for me, inclusion is very different. I'm also a teacher, so this is something that I'm very mindful of in my classroom. And the one thing that I try my best to do is as you said, not judge people and not stereotype them, always be open-minded. And I also call out things when something, like calling out racism, for example. Like you're saying, it can be very small. You can just call out the racist structure that is happening in your classroom, of your child's classroom, or where you are working. Call these things out. We can't just keep living with systems that are ruining our society. So on a small level, on a big level, if you have a platform, call these things out. And if you are calling it out, I was in a class the other day, a lecture, and my professor was talking about how she called out that one of the students in her son's football team was the only one not going, and he ended up being the only foreign student football player as well in the team. So she called it out. She asked questions. She said, why is he not going? And it opened up this whole thing about one football club leaving out foreign children from being able to go abroad, from being able to participate in competitions. And her calling it out opened a whole investigation in why do they not get funded? Like, why is their money? What is their money used for, basically? What is the issue? What is the issue? So it's, I don't know about inclusion in that way. I don't know how, because I cannot speak for all foreign people in Iceland. But for me, inclusion, from our perspective, might be different to how people from the other side see inclusion. But calling on us as well, because I think we do the work on calling out systemic barriers, but those who are the majority here, or Icelanders, I can actually even say, they also need to call things out. When things are wrong, say it's wrong.
You mentioned parents, particularly. They need to notice.
I just want to mention that I want it to be so simple, and I will not discuss the policy making and institutional legal rights for immigrants to be heard and included, but it's so simple that I don't want my kids who are raised in Iceland and left Palestine, and a country that they can't go back again to be asked where you are from, because it's so hurtful. And it's just open the door as an individual to ask someone who speaks actually has been raised up and spent all his life in Iceland and speak Icelandic as a mother language, where you are from. It's so hurting. For us, it's fine because we have our life there and here and we let it go. But for kids, I can see it in my kids' eyes. And even when they are coming home, it's why they are asking me where I am from. They have it, they are proud of their where they are came from, but at the same time it's so harder on them than us, because they do not know any country other than Iceland. They do not know any, the first language is Icelanders. The first culture that they have been exposed to is Icelandic culture. Everything, so even my daughter, if she does not want to go to swimming pool, it does not because she's a Muslim, it does not because she's a brown, but because she is like any other Icelandic girl.
does not like to go to swimming now. Like she has this kind of, So even at school, don't assume because of our origin, we don't participate. Yeah. It's so simple, because if you are treating me as an origin, like foreign origin, don't treat the second generation as a foreign origin, because it's insane to call them.
Yeah, very important. And I thank Christine actually for that question, because it's about what they can do, what the host community can do.
Can I add a bit, shortly?
Sure.
I think it's just important that you seek out different, vast experiences of people living here, because how are you supposed to know? Like, if you're planning an event and you are like, oh, okay, I'm going to walk through this event thinking about accessibility, and then you're checking in the boxes, like, okay, it's easy for someone in a wheelchair to come inside. I think you need to also think, like, okay, how is this going to work out for someone that doesn't understand or speak Icelandic? Do I need a translator? And then you're thinking, you're just going through all of this, and you won't be able to kind of think about what you need unless you have familiarized yourself with the different experience of women living here, and they have vast experiences, because also you need to be thinking like, okay, poor women who are working maybe like double shifts, how do we make sure that they are able to come here? So I think it's like really getting to know how people experience the world we live in, because it's a really different reality based on your social status. And just like the other day, just a little personal story, I was so happy because like working in the city council environment, we get like these quizzes being sent to us sometimes, and they're asking like, oh, we really want to know like why elected officials are not working, like don't want to be doing this for many terms, and they're asking like a lot of questions. And I was so happy I saw that you could tick into the box like mixed origin, and I was just like, wow, this is, I think, the first time I see like an Icelandic survey that is like really aware that not everyone is just like native white skin, you know, even though I'm Icelandic, but you know, it's complicated. And then and then it was like, okay, so what is the size of the municipality you're working in? Is it larger than this number? And then I was like, okay, I tick into that box. They're gonna immediately know it's Reykjavik, because that's like the biggest one. And there's like, no, I was like, I really want to answer these questions and give them like my experience and perspective. But I was still, I can't do this, you're going to know it's me. And they were like, this is going to be so personal, we will not be able to trace it back to anyone. And I was like, nope. Yeah.
No, this is true of any research you do in Iceland. Yes. It's so hard to anonymize anything because you give two details and everyone knows who it is. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to say, for 30 seconds, I've been trying to do something systemic and structural about inclusiveness, and I'm really concerned about education. It's who I am. I'm an educationist. And I think that the curriculum and the syllabus, especially at the university at higher education level, but I would say even mentaskóli, it's possible for students, really bright, smart, well-aware students, to go through really good institutions and just never know basic things about other countries. And when you teach philosophy, it's only European philosophy. They don't know that there are centuries of philosophical works around the world that predate and continue long after. In the sciences, all the fathers of various disciplines are all white men. We have no idea what they were reading. What was Newton reading when the apple fell on his head, because the apple chose a white European man to fall on, and what were the Arabic texts he was reading, right? And so when you don't include this in your education, you're producing people who think that knowledge and modernity are white European. They don't know about academic or knowledge systems in the rest of the world, and we do our students and our children such a disservice. You're not saying that you're racist, but your curriculum is kind of proving that to them at every stage. So anyway, I've been campaigning to change this at the university. So wish me luck.
Thank you all. This conversation has been so precious and inspiring. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
No conclusion, okay.